Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Berbice 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio.
The third world is not poor. You don't go to poor countries to make money. There are very few poor countries in this world. Only the people are poor. When people didn't have enough to eat, when people were driven to the edge of desperation, there's billions to be made there, to be carved out and to be taken. The capitalist European and North American powers have carved out and taken the timber, the bauxite. They have taken out of these countries. These countries are not underdeveloped. They're overexploited. They're overexploited. They're overexploited.
Good evening and welcome to this week's first broadcast of the Lall Show, where we tell it as it is. My name is Mikhaila Prince, a reporter with Kaieteur News, and I will be moderating this evening's show. Tonight we have with us no strange faces, two journalists from Kaieteur News, Mr. Kemol King and Ms. Kiana Wilburg, and the publisher of the Kaieteur newspaper, Mr. Lall. For those who are new to the program, this show is it's aired 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and it's where we discuss articles that we would have published and issues pertaining to our resources, national interests. So, just before we begin tonight's program, let me just remind the listeners and the viewers that you can call us on 226-7453 or WhatsApp us or send us a text on 622-2222. One of the issues we'll be touching on tonight is systems that Guyana needs to put in place so that it can benefit from its oil resources. So, Mr. Lall, you can explain the rest in your presentation.
Thank you, Mikhaila. Good night, all Guyana. I always like to begin with a quote. Tonight's quote is, "The beauty of life does not only depend on how happy you are, but how happy others can be because of you." You go down the road, lend a smile or give a helping hand whenever it's needed. That is what that quote simply means. Make people happy all time. Guyanese deserve to be happy. But when we look around Guyana and see the wealth we have and see how people live, I am not seeing happiness. I went to a wedding over the weekend at Fort Bridge in Diamond. And when I drive through to go to that wedding house, I wanted to know if I was living in the interior with concrete roads, the roadways, how stink it is, the bushes on the roads not being clean. I said, my God, how these people are living, how these people are driving through these streets, walking through these streets every day. And that is the Guyana we are living in. I just stopped on the road there, and a city constabulary corporal said to me, Lall, please talk about this issue that's plaguing the city. He said there are thieves and pickpockets and snatchers all over Georgetown. The Guyana is becoming from an oil-rich country to a criminalized state, where you have thieves all over. And this is the Guyana we have. when I read my own newspaper, the Kaieteur News, every day, I'm only seeing Guyanese will be left to hold a begging bowl in their hands, going about begging. I hope and I pray that that does not continue for too long. So once again, good evening, Guyana, and we begin tonight's program. Some days when I hold our editorial meetings, I would say to the staff, let's get on with the people's business. So without any fancy introduction, let me begin to tell you, Guyana, what our leaders is afraid to say publicly. You guys would have read the newspaper, and just in case you haven't read the newspapers, your opposition leader, Joseph Harmon, we carried a story today in which 3 months have passed and he's yet to put together the coalition oil team to answer questions on our oil deals. 3 months pass. You hear that, Guyana? This is what they don't want to come out and face the press or tell you guys anything. So please don't ask me why they are silent about the oil. People are giving away your oil blocks and not a single word. A matter of fact, by now, after a few weeks on this radio, you will have to decide whether our leaders are listening with their ears or their pockets. Think about that. Tonight, I want to share some experience and mistakes Trinidad and Tobago made so we can learn from them and put measures in place to protect our pockets and future generations to come. An expert in the oil and gas business, Mr. Anthony Paul, a Trinidadian and a good friend of mine, said just a few days ago to the Kaieteur News, and I quote him, Trinidad took decades to close loopholes, and he warns Guyana not to walk the same road. So please listen carefully to what I have to say tonight, guys. Even though Trinidad has been in the oil and gas business well over 100 years, its poor management and weakened institutional capacity that spans decades have thrown its economy into a state of ill health, meaning little money went to the people. While presently the Prime Minister, Kaieteur, is struggling to repair the damages with a campaign of contract negotiations, his people, with the oil experience and gas industry, is running into Guyana. They are coming here to eke out a living. That is good. That's nice. I am happy that our Trini brothers and sisters can come and survive. But what about Guyanese? What about us? What about you, Guyana? They're already here. They're here in every field. So, to ensure Guyana does not find itself in the same predicament like Trinidad and Tobago, the energy expert Anthony Paul, a good friend of mine, and to the Kaieteur family, says Guyana has to begin the critical groundwork. Not tomorrow, not next week or next year. The man said begin the critical groundwork now. Now. He said Trinidad has been in trouble with management of its gas resources for years, and that Trinidad has a lot of lessons for Guyana because the country has been struggling with managing its oil and gas for some time now. He said, in his view, it is something that requires good governance, strong institutional framework, good decision making to correct the wrongs. He went on to say, because of the broken down system not being managed properly in Trinidad, production was falling by almost 1 billion cubic feet per day, and very little revenue was going to the people of Trinidad. He said Trinidad just became aware of the fact that there was massive tax avoidance.
You are listening to the Glenn Lall Show, where we tell it as it is, right here on Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM in Berbice. I just needed to say that so you can continue your program. Would any of you would like to make an input?
Well, I know that Mr. Lall is going to continue with his...
The mic is
you're
on.
set up now?
You're okay?
The mic is okay?
Yeah, the mic is okay.
Guyana, I am back. My mic wasn't working. An expert in the business said Trinidad took decades to close loopholes, and he's begging for Guyana to just close every bit of it. The man went on to say, he said that Trinidad has been in trouble with the management of its gas resources for years, and that Trinidad offers a lot of lessons for Guyana because the country has been struggling with managing its resources for decades. And in his view, it is something that requires good governance, strong institutional framework, good decision making to correct those wrongs. He said, because of the broken down system not being managed properly in Trinidad, production fell almost 1 billion cubic feet per day. He said Trinidad just became aware of the fact that there was massive tax avoidance by the oil companies. He means that the gas was being sold and the benefit was not coming back to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. He said that Trinidad recently come to grips and learned how weak them oil institutions was, that them just made a move to increase the royalty from their natural gas to a whooping 12.5%. You hear that, Guyana? They are able to call in the oil companies and get their royalty up to 12.5%. Now, Guyana, brothers and sisters, we don't even have a proper system to manage our oil sector. Our oil laws are outdated. No one capable to run this oil wealth we have, much as to find loopholes in them criminal oil contracts our leaders sign up. A matter of fact, we don't even have a bandage or a plaster for paste any hole, much as loopholes in them contracts. You see what I mean? You tell me if we can learn from Trinidad, or we're going to wait until our oil finish to demand a 20% royalty like Trinidad did. No, No, Guyana, we have to demand that now. Don't wait like Trinidad. Trinidad oil and gas is at the end of the barrel. And now they went and renegotiate their royalty and got 12.5%. We shouldn't be like that. We should get on with that and get a renegotiation right now to take us to 20%. The Trini expert said by fixing the oil institutions in Trinidad, they were able to rake in millions of dollars the country was losing over the years via tax from the oil companies. What Guyana already did, them sign contracts with all the oil companies that allows all of them, their mother, their father, their brother, their cousin, and every single body who linked to them. Guyana signed a contract for them all not to pay a single cent in taxes. He urged the authorities here to ensure the relevant protective measures are in place. Another bit of information the man shared with us last week, in which he said, put laws in place now to avoid being trapped or conned by oil companies. 1 year already finished, we're in oil. Is Guyana prepared for the effective regulation of this sector and the money? No. We are nowhere. Some of our leaders don't even know the difference between oil blocks and an oil well. A day we discussed that in the editorial room, and we were cracking up. A senior government official did not know the difference between Payara and an oil block. Look, Guyana, look who they put as a minister, a school teacher who knows about computer. This is the oil minister. When you call him for a simple, straightforward question, he's telling you to call back. I want to believe, Guyana, he doesn't know the difference between an oil rig and an oil tanker. But he's your minister. Countries all over this world goes around and hire the best for safeguard their oil wealth. Look, we had the same Anthony Paul here in Guyana, and them chased the man. They knock off the man. Now the man working for Mozambique government and their people. You see what I mean, Guyana? We should have had at least 500 people sitting in an office already watching, monitoring, and putting systems in place to protect our oil wealth, our resources. But what? We have nobody, Guyana. Listen to this, brothers and sisters. If you're building a house, would you hire a mechanic or a contractor? If your car gets into an accident, you're going to hire a cane cutter to fix it? If your computer won't fix, you're going to bring a hard man to fix it? No. You will find the expert in that field to fix it. Yes. That's what anybody would do. Well, instead our leaders focus on putting and finding the right people for the oil sector so we could get the maximum benefits from our oil wealth. They must focus their energies on putting back our brothers and sisters in the cane field and the rice field for cut cane and plant rice. Guyana, you have to demand from all your leaders that they hire the best and put them there. Put them there to protect us, Guyana. Guys, let me ask this simple question. What you have heard there, you really believe we have anything to get out there? With your leaders' actions, with their silence, not saying a word almost 5-6 years into this oil industry, to which this whole world is talking about Guyana. And you hearing not a single word from any one of them. Just think about it, guys. Think about it. Everybody saying Guyana can look at the mistakes nations made and try not to make the same. Correct yourselves so the nation can benefit. Guyana, I am certain that we can do a lot more than what we are doing right now. There is no reason we cannot learn from people's mistakes. But, is the but, our leaders are listening? Not what I am seeing. Not what I'm seeing at this present moment, Guyana. No. Let me be very frank. When one looks back at the thousands of articles over the years this newspaper carried on the wicked, the evil, the nastiness of oil companies, what they did to other nations and in many countries. And we are not hearing a single word from our leaders how they plan to avoid Guyana from falling into that realm of things. So many examples this newspaper shown, and they did not try to correct them. They still not saying a single word. A matter of fact, they were all silent and still silent. Sometimes I wonder whose interests these leaders have at heart. Let me say this, Guyana. Just to know about this oil wealth we have and get to understand it so we can report accurately to all of you. You know what I did? Over a year now, I begged that same Trinidadian expert, Mr. Anthony Paul, to come to Guyana and spend a week with us at the Kaieteur News. Having realized how important this industry is and the wealth we have out there, Guyana, I changed the venue from my office to accommodate all press people in Guyana. I went and hired a conference hall at Sleep Inn just to accommodate everyone in the Guyana media so that we all can get au fait with the subject matter. I must tell you, just a few media people turned up. I was so shocked. But what can I do? The most important thing is that I tried. I even invited government officials and none of them came. You really believe them want to learn how to manage our oil wealth that will benefit us? Or them only want to learn what coming their way? Think about it, man. Think about it, Guyana. Just last week, the world's biggest independent oil trader, agreed to pay more than 160 million US dollar to settle allegations that it conspired to pay bribes in Latin America. Them choose to settle it quickly so that their name does not come out in the open as a company known for corruption with government officials. Yes, Guyana. The same company named Vital Inc., our leaders, Guyanese leaders, them this here that run in this country, shortlist them to sell we oil. The court documents say the company plotted to pay bribes in Brazil, Mexico, and Ecuador. In some cases, as recently as this year, that company did that. And the same company agreed to pay 90 million to the US and 45 million to the Brazilian state oil for corruption. According to the settlement, the company paid Brazilian officials more than 8 million in bribes in exchange for oil business. Now, when I read that, when you listen to this, Guyana, you have to wonder. We all have to wonder who is getting paid here and how they're getting paid and where they're getting paid. That same company earned at least 33 million US dollar in profits from the corruptly obtained contracts. You hear that? I wonder what's already happening. What's playing out in our country here right now as I speak. Our country, I'm talking about, Guyana, with our oil wealth. Who's selling our oil and how they plan to sell it. Guyana, please, you got to wake up. You guys have to smell the coffee. Smell the coffee before it's too late. And all what I just said to you is not Lall saying this. This is coming from experts and court documents. Outside of Brazil, the company agreed to pay more than 2 million in bribes to officials in Mexico and Ecuador. And all this happened from 2015 to 2020. Does that ring a bell? Does that resemble anything here? Yes, it resembles Guyana. We announced oil in 2015 and we are in 2020. Just to gain advance in buy and sell oil products, they bribe in left, right, and center. Wonder who getting paid. Guys, there's enough things happening in this country. This paper got to tell y'all about this sector. And we have a lot more to tell y'all. The same company tell the court that them plan to be honest in the future. A corrupt company, known for corruption all the years, come now to say that they're going to be honest. Just to let you all know, Guyana, every aspect of this oil sector has huge room, gigantic rooms for massive corruption. We cannot sit back idle and allow these silent scamps to run muck over our heads. Please, hence I say wake up, Guyana. Speak up as loud as you can to protect what belongs to you, what belongs to us, what belongs to all. You need to know how these people running your country. You have to know, you must know, Guyana. Look, Brazil just announced that they will have public hearing starting tomorrow on guidelines for planned auction of thousands of acres for mineral exploration. Them say the government is planning to offer exploration concessions for around 5,000 areas to attract investment in their mining sector. You hear that, Guyana? Public hearing to offer exploration license in their mining area. Them said the hearing will be transmitted live on YouTube too. You hear that? Everything here in Guyana is secret. Every single thing here in Guyana is secret and silent. And Brazil planned to hold that hearing live so the world can hear, the world can know. We all can listen, see, and understand. Guess what, Guyana? All our mining lands in people's hand, we don't know until now. We don't know until now, this moment as I speak. That's a state secret. Only the leaders know and the owners. Brazil, these mining lands, these exploration license is not for gold, not for diamond. It's for sand, gravel, clay, the ceramic clay. That's what they're holding public hearing for and on. And we, our gold, our bauxite, our diamond are given out and give away to friends and family and to people who pay the right price for free. And what we're getting, what you're getting, Guyana, it's a shame. It's a shame we have leaders like them this. Look, we only hear Oma is back. We ain't even know what they were given or what Guyana is getting back in return. Nothing. All we hear, Oma is back in Guyana. Our leaders bring them here. Yes, Guyana. Yes, brothers and sisters. Our leaders brought those people here. Are these leaders listening with their ears or something else, Guyana? Or are they listening with their pockets? You tell me. I'm a bit stupid. And I didn't went far to school. Can somebody tell me? I want to hear from you. Let's take your telephone calls and let's get on with it a little more.
Mr. Lall, as we continue, I just wanted to add a little. You were talking about Trinidad, and I wanted to impress on how urgent it is for us to get it right, because Trinidad has had a century to do it, and we don't have a century.
Nope.
Because the world is clamoring for this sustainable energy and finding new technologies and moving on to cleaner energies. And from how our leaders are operating, I remember having a press conference with the vice president at the Arthur Chung Conference Center. And when we asked him about calls made to use the Payara project as leverage to get a better deal, what Mr. Jagdeo said was that Payara is not the only opportunity. We can get more later down the line. So it really gives you insight into
their thinking,
their mentality.
Their mentality. Mm-hmm.
And whether they're going to allow themselves to be bullied by these foreign companies? And how long more are you going to allow us to be bullied?
You know, Kemol, that's a very beautiful issue you raised there. How they're coming over, they want us to believe that they're stupid. But I honestly don't believe that President Jack Davis, ex-President Jack Davis is stupid. He's a very intelligent guy. He's a smart man. You know, he have to find excuses and he have to say something to defend their actions. You have to focus on their actions. You know, nobody gives away anything for free, bro. Nobody. So your actions speak volumes. So I am not buying that, but there much more we can get out of the oil industry on the coming wells. No, I'm not buying that. Payara was a prime target to hold on, to renegotiate and say, no, you guys cannot do this to us. You got to do better than this. And he didn't do it. And I believe that there are much more that you guys not seeing why they went ahead so quickly and approved the Payara contract to go ahead with that criminal 2%, less than 2% given to us.
And that Payara project is 600 million barrels by itself that they've just given away without securing a better deal for us. By today's oil prices, that's like $30 billion just on one project.
One well, just on one well.
Yes.
They have several wells to drill in the Stabroek block alone. I think, Kiana, how many do you have?
They've drilled 20 with 18 successful.
Good. Kiana said they drilled 20 already. Out of that 20, 18 already successful. And we are only bringing out from Lisa 1, Lisa 2, and the Payara. So they're billions upon billions. We're the richest oil nation on earth right now. Look back. Some of the things Anthony Paul says, put systems in place. We should have had at least 500 people sitting in an office authorizing the spending.
That's right.
Looking out at the costs and monitor every single thing. Instead, our leaders are not talking about 500 employees to protect us. Our leaders are talking about Fortune 500 players, bringing in companies from the Fortune 500, the biggest companies in the world in Guyana. To do what? What do you think they're coming to do here? They like Jagdeo? They like Harmon? Or they like any politicians here? You think they really like us? No, Guyana. They like what they can come here and grab onto for free. If they only play the game the right way. You know the game that I'm talking about. And I'm not talking about the game they're playing with we the people. They play the game with the right set of people to get whatever they can grab onto and run away with it.
All right. Now, when we started the show, Mikhaila said that we talk a little about what we need to do right now.
Yes.
So let's get into that a bit, because I remember a story that Shakima Day wrote. Sorry she couldn't be here. I know she's listening. From Dr. Jan Mangal, who said, don't expect the PPP to remedy the suspicious Kaieteur and Country Block awards. And Dr. Mangal is one of the persons who has been speaking out on the oil sector so fervently, even after he stopped advising the former president on oil and gas. And you can see in how they try to silence Dr. Mangal that the things he's saying is effective. So Dr. Mangal has been speaking out for quite some time about the suspicious awards of the Kanji and Kaieteur blocks. And Kaieteur News took it upon itself to carry a sustained campaign to call for an investigation. And because of that, they decided to threaten him the consultant, with a lawsuit telling him that if you do not retract the statements that you made, we're going to sue you for how much ever millions of dollars. And I know from my coverage of Dr. Mangal that what he has been saying is in the best interest of Guyana.
That's right.
All the advice that he has given us is to secure Guyana a fairer share. Why would you want to threaten such a person who is calling for betterment for the management of the oil and gas sector? And so his words in this article ring very true for me. Don't expect the PPP to remedy the suspicious awards. Because we have, and this is where I wonder if we're ever going to get the value out of these two blocks. Because
Correct.
these are the people who gave it away. And these are the people who we now have to depend on to open up the investigation. And it doesn't seem like they're ever going to do that.
Kemol, that's a very simple question you ask. Why would they want to shut up a man, a Guyanese citizen, who is speaking only on behalf and for the people of this country? Everything these people saying is to benefit us as a nation. And you have leaders, Robert Prasad, threatening Yan Mangal with lawsuit. Let me say this publicly. I didn't want to say it. I told Mr. Yan Mangal, he's not too well off, that if he get a lawsuit, Lall will beg for money to defend him. You hear that, Mr. Robert Prasad? You hear that, PPP? You hear that, coalition? Y'all got to wake up. Don't bring no lawsuit to silent people here. This is one man who would stand up for all Guyana. Even if I got to go out the whole begging bowl to go out there and beg, to get lawyers to defend these people who are speaking for the right thing, for the benefit of Guyana, for our fair share. Yes, I told them that. I think Mr. Yan Mangal may not like me saying this, but I want them leaders to know that I will beg. If I wouldn't thief. I don't know how to thief, but I will beg, and I'm certain that I'll raise enough money to defend anybody, any lawsuit I bring. I can bring them to me, because I am saying you're the man who give away the damn oil block and telling this country that you can't remember, you never meet the people. You got enough to tell this country you gave away 2 oil blocks. You were part of giving away 2 oil blocks that worth billions of US dollars that could set Guyana straight on the map of the top 10 countries in the world. And you tell this nation that you Robert Prasad, never meet the players? You, Robert Prasad, is telling this country that when you ask who signed for them, you say the lawyers, and you can't remember who the lawyers are? Come on, Robert Prasad. Come on, guys. And guess what, Guyana? This same man is sitting at the helm. He's a gatekeeper for all these foreign oil companies that come in here to do business. He is sitting at the helm. He's the gatekeeper again. A matter of fact, I promise y'all, the last program that I'll speak about him, he was sitting, he sat at the head table with Minister Vikram, and they had to go invest to negotiate another deal just last week with the Australian company coming here to look for minerals here. This same man, Robert Prasad. Maybe I should call him tomorrow and ask him if he remember the company name and the players. He might want to tell Guyana, no, I never meet them too. Y'all don't bring no bluff. Guyana, please, I'm begging you guys, wake up. You see thieves all over this country? They're multiplying by the hundreds because people are hungry. They're hungry because they're not getting a fair share of their own wealth in this land. Continue.
Someone would
Okay,
like to
let
go.
me just remind the viewers and the listeners, we are also having this conversation with you, not just with each other. So we are monitoring our Facebook Live for comments and questions from you, as well as the company phone where you can comment at 622-2222. We are also taking calls tonight. So if you'd like to speak to Mr. Lall, you call 226-7453. Let me repeat that clearly for anybody who wants to call. 226-7453. You send your text and your WhatsApp to 622-2222. So we're waiting for your calls and your text messages.
Kiana?
All right, so I'll just jump in here and just make a few comments. Mr. Lall, you know, I'm always left sometimes speechless when I'm listening to the manner in which you bring this whole big picture to the man on the street. You bring it in this layman perspective. And just to add some of the things that you would have mentioned there, you spoke about the importance of hiring the best, the need for us to get the best minds to help us govern this very complex industry. And it's disheartening that this is not something that you need to be told from an expert, that you must hire the best. If
Correct.
you don't know,
Yes.
just get someone who does. No one needs to go to school or college
That's
or get a
right.
master's degree.
That's right.
It's very fundamental.
Yes, it's simple.
So because it's so simple, it leaves you baffled as to why we would choose or go ahead with a controversial Canadian politician, Miss Alison Redford, who has no experience in reviewing field development plans, but we expect this person to make decisions and make recommendations on Guyana's best interests.
Yeah, it's like what I did there with that Canadian woman is like Jagdev or Bank of Guyana hire King Cotter to come audit the books of Bank of Guyana.
Yes.
That's exactly what they do, because this woman come to review bigger than Bank of Guyana. This woman came here, never review anything. She reviewed $9 billion project in 6 weeks. And all the experts around the world say that thing cannot be done in less than a year by several persons, not one. And she and 2-3 people sit down together and 6 weeks say it's okay, go ahead. She is the one who actually authorized Guyana to sign, allow them to flare, to burn all the gas up there, polluting the atmosphere in which we live. She is the one that authorized in the project review. Guyana could say it's okay to dump the produced water, the toxic water. As a matter of fact, before I came on the program, let me say this. I got a phone call from a fisherman who is sitting on his boat 16 days now out in the Atlantic. He said to me, Mr. Lall, I'm so happy that I get your number. We are listening to your program way in the Atlantic Ocean. And we heard you saying about the fish and fishing license. And the man went on to tell me, to which I've just instructed my staff earlier today to get down to the bottom of this one, that 16 days, they still didn't catch what they used to catch in 3 days. So I asked him, I said, what's happening? He said, brother, I don't know. I don't know what is going on out there, but no fish we are getting. So Guyana, be prepared. Just be prepared. And thank the Granger, the Harmon, the Jagdale, the Robert and the Donald them, and Tratman, that we're going to have to start import fish next. Yeah, that's what the guy said to me 2 hours ago. There's no fish. No fish. I want to believe, I'm not certain, but I want to believe the operations out there and the dumping of the produced water from these oil rigs is killing all the fishes or either chasing them away. Because, please, Kiana, let me hand Kiana to explain. Produce water. It simply means, go ahead, Kiana, explain.
Okay.
I'll give you a chance to talk.
So, as Mr. Lall was about to explain there, produced water is the water that comes up with the extraction of the oil. So when they send that drill down, they send that pipe down, and they start to suck up the oil, what comes up is not just oil, but you have water that has been lodged in the reservoir. And so what they have to do is separate that oil from the water. Now, that's not... Disposing of it is a very critical thing that has to be considered from country to country.
Correct.
Because what companies like to do is take the cheapest way out, which is to take the water now that they've separated from the oil and dump it into the ocean. Now, that water is not the regular water that's in the ocean. That's water that's buried thousands of miles below the Earth's surface. And it's very brine, and it's coming up with lots of chemicals that they would have put into the hole, the well, to extract the oil in a safe manner. And when you look at that concoction, you just throw it into the ocean, you have no idea what effect it's going to have on the marine environment. So in order to know whether companies should be allowed to dump that produced water into the ocean, our authorities would have to do a study to understand, well, what's the toxicity of that produced water and what effect would it have on the marine environment. Sometimes the effect may not be immediate, but over time it can begin to change the species. I remember in one study that I was reading where there was dumping of produced water, that the effect did not happen immediately. What started to happen was the size of the marine
area.
Well, not the area, but the
species.
They started to shrink, and they started to die very quickly. So all these are things that Guyana should have looked at before we granted a permit to ExxonMobil to do this. And the fact that Miss Alison Redford has not recommended that a study be done before ExxonMobil is allowed to produce the water tells you who we really have for the person that is leading the team to review these field development plans and to ensure that every single measure is in place to protect Guyana's interests. And along with the produced water that we've been talking about constantly at Kaieteur News, I'll just mention this very briefly. What's shocking is that in the license, the Payara license that was granted, the government gives ExxonMobil about 60 weeks, I believe, to prepare a special study on the effects that produced water is going to have on the environment. Now, that I believe is just putting the cart before the horse.
No, but by the time they come out with this study,
With this,
all Guyana dead, not only the fishes. And Kiana, this is more than sickening what's happening in this oil industry. And again, your leaders not saying a word. All you hear, they're threatening to sue. They sue the man for the man shut his mouth. They sue me for shut my mouth. None of you can shut me mouth, bro. Trust me. Only the man above, God Almighty, He's the only one to shut my mouth. And that's my belief. It is so ridiculous to bring that Canadian woman here. And she didn't bring herself here, you know. She didn't bring herself here. The oil companies, them calling the shots. the oil companies then decide who you must bring to carry out these reviews and these projects. And the oil companies them giving you their own people. So whenever they finish their report, the report is in favor of the oil companies. Now, to God tell me, how you going to give an oil company 60 weeks? 60 weeks is more than a year, more than 1 year to do a study to tell us the effects of that produced water, what it can do. You got to be out your head. We should have done that before they even think about doing a review or grant the Payara permit.
Absolutely.
And we had a scare just recently the other day, Mr. Lall, when we saw another newspaper report that they brought her back to do more work.
Yes.
And it was so shocking to me to hear that after everything Kaieteur News has exposed about this particular consultant, that you would call her back for more work. And so that other media house had quoted the former Canadian High Commissioner to Guyana, Lillian Chatterjee. So what we did, we went straight to the Minister Vikram Bharat, and asked him, is this true? And he said it's not true. So
wow, that by itself took off give some room for us to breathe. You know, because when I glanced at the story and read it, I said, wait, don't tell me they're bringing back this woman in Guyana again. This woman already messed us up, put us in a fix, in a bind that we can't even come out. And you bringing back that woman in the oil industry to represent Guyana? Come on, guys. Listen, I would have been the first one holding a placard in front of Jagdeo House.
And you know, Mr. Lall, just to add, Ms. Redford is actually affiliated with the World Bank. And as we would have said on a few shows before, we've had some difficulties with some of the awards that have been made from a World Bank loan, a $20 million World Bank loan that we received to improve our capacity to effectively manage the oil sector. Now, here is it, you have an affiliate now.
My God.
Of the
Kiana,
World.
please hold a second. I don't think people get what you said there just now. Let me explain what Kiana said there, simple language, Guyana. What she said is that Guyana went and took a loan from the World Bank, a 20 million US loan, which we have to pay back to fix our oil industry. And the World Bank sent she to fix we. Pay she out of that loan to fix we problem.
Oh no, sorry, she wasn't paid from the World Bank.
No, she wasn't paid from the World
No,
Bank.
she was paid through the Canadian.
Yes, a Canadian grant.
Good, Canadian grant.
Yes.
Why you think Canadian give you that grant? You think they like you? You think they want you to fix your oil industry? No, sweetheart. No. All these people giving you grant and giving you loans and giving you stipend here and stipend there by the millions, and then they send their own people to set the stage right so that they can take back trillions out of that few pennies they loan to you. And our leaders are allowing and accepting this type of arrangement, this type of it's not even a business to call it a business. You know? It's sickening.
Indeed. And you know, Mr. Lall, I just wanted to come back to another point. I mean, I know time is against us, but my colleague mentioned the issue of the Kaieteur and Kanji blocks, along with some comments that we received from Mr. Mangal. And I just wanted to bring this point to the fore because I believe that it's very, very important. When the AP and AFC won the elections back in 2015, everyone was paying attention to its actions in the first 100 days in office. We were paying attention to how they were going to set the stage to deal with corruption, Are they going to embark on strengthening governance systems? Are they going to close loopholes in the laws to ensure that we sort of mitigate the significant revenue leakage that we've been seeing? And now here you have the PPP, and a matter as important as investigating who are the beneficial owners of these blocks. Are politically exposed persons involved? Did anyone benefit from the suspicious manner in which these awards were granted? I am of the firm belief that the way in which this government handles this particular matter is going to set the stage for what we're to expect from them in managing this oil sector.
It is sad.
And and if we're to use this as some form of guide,
A litmus test.
as a litmus test, then it's very, very scary.
It's scary and sad.
Yes.
Kiana, it is so sad. You know, open an investigation as to who really collecting these money in which these oil blocks are being sold. An investigation should be held. They are hiding behind these, you know, fancy languages and words. Both coalition and the PPP, they said, Bharat Jagdev said, Harman said, Granger said, Trotman said, we should have an international investigation into the giveaway of the oil blocks. And now we are not hearing a single word. I want to hear a word from you, Guyana. Don't you want to know who is receiving those millions upon millions of US dollars in which these oil blocks are being sold for? Of course you want to know. Of course Glenn Lall wants to know. Every one of us in this radio station wants to know. And we should know. We must know. Trust me, we will know. We will know. They can't run and hide. They're going to hide for a while, not for long. Guyana, you will know. And we have to get an international investigation to expose these criminals we have.
You know, Mr. Lall, it's interesting that we see the Attorney General, Mr. Anil Nanlal, speaking about investigations that would be done to ascertain what's happened with the disposal of our land and what's not. But two of our prime assets offshore, there's not a word from him into finding out, well, what really occurred. Let's settle the score on what really went on
You
there.
see, well, that's the game they're playing. They're selective.
Yes.
They're very selective in what they do. It's like the police. The police running after a man who snatched a chain and who snatched an umbrella.
Or who got a little marijuana.
Or who smoked marijuana. And I put them before the court. But the real criminals that is cultivating the thieves, because when they snatch away the money by the billions of US dollars and siphon it off and hide it in various secret bank accounts in tax haven countries, this is why we police force have to run after these type of people, because that money should have been here to uplift people's life. Instead, it's not coming here. And they're not speaking about investigating that. They're talking about investigate a piece of land here and a land there and what's going on. That's the kind of trivial things they're investigating. So it's a game plan they all have. And they are all in the same boat. All the politicians of this country is in the same boat, Guyana. They're selling every single one of us out. And you need to understand that. And you need to stand up and speak up. And you got to be loud, Guyana. loud like Glenn Lall. I will back you.
And what we see in other countries, other oil-producing countries, when they unearth that a certain official is engaged in corrupt practices, you see that there are investigations brought against them and they're held accountable. But we don't have the same type of accountability here. If we don't see one corrupt official go to jail for the illegal giveaway of our national asset once it is found to be so, then we can't move 1 inch in terms of fighting corruption in this country if we don't see that people are held accountable for what they're doing with our national assets.
Kemol, every day that goes by, I'm seeing this country very differently. I am seeing that these leaders will not move because they all tie themselves up in one way or the other. And we are not going to get anywhere. The only way for we to get back and get them to stand up is get out there and protest them in the face, look them in the eyes and tell them, demand from them, no, y'all can't do us that. Look, you see what's happening. I just spoke about Robert Prasad. Mm-hmm. Robert Prasad went away and come back and he's given a bigger post.
Yes.
Right? And he is the man who is responsible for these things. You're putting him again there. You bring back Brassington. Winston Brassington. I'm matter of fact, we're carrying that story tomorrow.
Yes.
Brassington has been appointed to Guyana as to lead the team to sell our natural gas in this country. This is a man who is known for secret deals. And every deal, every piece of land he gave out during his time as head of NISIL, every deal has some confidentiality clause. Now I use the word confidentiality clause, meaning we can't tell you the deal. That is the man that's a kingpin for confidentiality. As a matter of fact, every time I see him, every time I see Brandon, I say confidential. Why? You know, everything is confidential between them. Jack Dave is part of it too. They're all part of it.
Okay, so that brings us to the end. Well, would you like to add anything? We don't have any questions. We have
a lot of comments. Incensed comments.
Yeah.
Yes, but for me, I think there's one that I want to address here. A comment from a Hastu.
No, don't worry, name. Read the comment.
Parallel. He's saying, why is Mr. Lall so obsessed with ExxonMobil? And where was his comments during the last administration? Even before you
go ahead.
you get to this, Mr. Lall.
I can answer.
No, and I know you will, because I've been staring at this comment for quite some time. Just to clear the air, Kaieteur News is not obsessed with ExxonMobil. Kaieteur News is obsessed with safeguarding our future.
That's right.
And ensuring that the lives that we are living, our future generations are able to live a better one. And in doing so, it means that we have to be obsessed with every area that is going to, that provides secrecy and opaqueness and any suspicion of corruption. We have to be obsessed with that. Otherwise, we will end up like one of those many African nations that when they decided to look at the matter, it was already too late.
Let me add my bit to it. Glenn Lall, 26 years, have been fighting for Guyana.
Yeah.
The record is very clear. If you've been following the Kaieteur News, or if you Google the Kaieteur News and read back, from day one I started and we remain on the same course. I have not shifted in any way, shape or form.
That's right.
I have remained the same Glenn Lall, speaking for the people, all the people, not a constituency, but for all Guyana. I have been standing up. The newspaper has been the only media house I can honestly say that has been standing up for the people of this country on both sides of the fence.
Correct.
When PPP was in there, the PNC used to cost me. When the PNC go there, this one costing me. So that's okay, that's fine. I am with the people. I am not with a political party. And I am for the people of this country. And I will stand up and I will speak up. Amen. As loud as I can. Now that I was blessed with this little nerve and the ability to come on this radio and speak to Guyana, you will see the real guy, Glenn Lall. People have been seeing the Glenn Lall through the pages, but now you will listen to the real Glenn Lall on this radio. God spare life.
All right, that brings us to the end of this tonight's show program. Will this be broadcasted tomorrow?
Yes, of course.
Yes, tomorrow at 11:20? 11 a.m.
Yes, you can get a rebroadcast of tonight's show tomorrow at 11. And Kiana, would you like to add anything before we leave?
No, just that I hope you guys continue to join us and partake in the Glenn Lall show, where we tell it like it is. And I know that you've been enjoying the passionate presentations from our publisher, and you're going to continue to see more of that as the days wind down. Also, there's going to be another show with the Glenn Lall show is going to be on again on Wednesday.
Yes.
And I'd also like to invite you to look out for the publisher on my show, which is Guyana's Oil and You. That is going to be on Thursday at 7:30, and we're going to have the Vice President, Dr. Barra Jagdeo, here. So that's going to be one interesting conversation there.
I like that. I welcome that. I would love him to come and sit and let's have a frank discussion, man. Let me close by saying, Guyana, please stand up, because you don't want to be holding a calabash or a begging bowl, walking about this place begging with the kind of wealth we have. Please, don't allow yourselves or don't allow your neighbors or anybody to go down that road. Please. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, guys.